Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back. Hi.
So, we're looking at, obviously, a replica of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776, the birth of the United States of America. And Benny might say it's actually already long dead, as far as the original intentions.
Right, I mean, as far as what was laid out and the visualization of it all, that's just not, there's no parallels left anymore.
No, it's interesting too. There's so many of the founding fathers were Freemasons, were secret society people. Yet, as time has gone on, even some with good intentions and some groups with good intentions have been taken over and subverted. Mm-hmm. And when we go farther back in time, we get more of the light trying to overcome the darkness, and then the darkness temporarily during a Kali Yuga overtakes the light, and now we're heading back to a period of much more light influx inward, and the darkness will be overtaken.
And that's why we are here, and that's why you guys are here, is we are these lanterns, these light anchors of information. We anchor in this information wherever we're at, and we kind of spread it, but right now is probably one of the most difficult times because we're just breaking a barrier of information where people are really reluctant to accept the new old stuff,
I think it is changing, and everything changes. Everything is cyclic, so in the West we've had this linear version of time that you start here, you end up there, and that's it, right?
Yep.
There's a distinct concrete beginning, a distinct concrete end. But it's not so in the mystery traditions, and it's not so in the Eastern traditions, as everything is much more of not even a circle, but a spiral. And each time is unique. Each time we come through to a new place that is an old place, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about astrology is part of this matrix. Scientists believe we are living in a holographic reality, a projection of sorts. And, if you look to the Sanatana Dharma and say if you study many different Eastern philosophies, they're not disagreeing.
Right.
They're not disagreeing with that statement, and that, or into the mystery traditions. This is a temporary experience, and astrology is part of this matrix. It's basically, it just is part of how things work. Everything is energy. Ultimately, everything is consciousness. And energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can change. And every single being, every single planet and star exerts a certain consciousness, has a certain effect on our own consciousness. Mm-hmm. So when we're closer to certain things, we have, more of an influence to have certain tendencies.
We do. And when you look at astrology, it's actually the study of light and how that light reflects off of the being that it's hitting. So it's that study, and the sages have spent many years recording this information. Unfortunately, we don't have like all the information. We have many puzzle pieces, but we're just short certain informations because a lot of that information is either sacred or it's hidden. But we do have enough so that we can get a rough idea of what somebody's life is going to be like and what they can expect in their past life and what they can expect moving forward in their life.
And light is knowledge, and the sun is the bringer of light to the planet, one of the bringers of light to the planet, but others as well. Other heavenly bodies reflect light and reflect it with their own tendencies and influences. It's interesting. I was just digressing in my own mind on a train of thoughts talking about light. Interesting how we see all these darker entities of myths and legends being afraid of the light, right? Vampires can't come out into the light of the sun. They go poofed. Yeah, isn't that interesting that they can't take the truth? They can't take the change. They can't take the gnosis that the sun brings. And if we look to, say, the modern mythos or whatever you want to call it, of, say, Batman living in Gotham. Every time you look around Gotham, when's it a bright, shiny day? It's always dark and dreary, and there's an absence of light.
Right.
Right? An absence of light, an absence of positive change, of gnosis again, which is that knowing. When we don't really know something from experience, we have to go on faith. And when we're going on faith, we're basically accepting a belief system given to us by others, instead of that inner light saying, this feels right. I know this, and many of you understand what I'm saying there because you've gone through it too. You've been indoctrinated into many different belief systems, whether it's political or religious or anything else out there. And you have that inner knowing that something feels off, something feels uncomfortable. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you just know there's something that is not ringing true, doesn't feel harmonious. Well, the planets too can sometimes bring about energies that won't feel harmonious, or they can also expose things that really aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
And Pluto is about transformation. This is really about transformation. So the house where Pluto exposes itself is where your unknowing physiological motivation lacks and or desires revelation. It's where transformation lies in wait, right? It can ask us to change our attitude, so to speak. Well, this planet needs a change in attitude because, those that have been in charge of this planet, the system in place in the planet, is one that is viewing the planet as an adversary to be conquered, to be used, abused, not respected, not put on a pedestal, heaven forbid, not deified in any way, shape, or form. People in a traditional fundamentalist Abrahamic point of view, probably get uneasy when we speak of loving Mother Earth or Gaia. They will maybe accuse you of getting all new agey on them and stuff like that. When they don't realize that the belief system that they are in, again, is not one that's really congruous with positive change on the planet. And again, we could look to the two different creation stories in Genesis, which really are speaking to, completely two different sets of beings. The original creator of everything had good intentions, obviously. Mm-hmm. And, one of the revelations that came to us recently, and which we might have known deep down inside, but even the creator of the universe is not necessarily the source of everything.
That's right. That's right. That's something that a lot of people find difficult to wrap their minds around. But we have to remember a lot of these stories we've been told are beings and entities that are personified so that we can understand them in our human essence, and we can maybe understand their stories and understand what they're trying to convey at our level.
Yeah, so I want to give you guys that meditation to just contemplate. What if the creator of this universe, this entire universe we see, is not the source of all that there is? I just want to leave that thought with you guys, as it's one of the major affirmations that we've received, understanding on, clarification on, that I think kind of instinctively knew again. And so Pluto rules Scorpio in the 8th house, and it does change its position, but some of the associations with it most definitely is a renewing transformation. But a lot of things that we're seeing in this time too, cataclysms, tons of cataclysms, atomic energy, isn't that curious as well? Black magic, of which we know, and the more these rumors, that we've heard forever, about the controllers and their black magic, the more and more you realize that it's true. That it maybe not every little detail is true, but the ultimate gist, they understand how the universe works. They're always working their dark magic to keep their power. How about dictatorship? Yeah, it seems like that's where this globe is heading, at least from the point of view of where the elites want it to go. Manipulation? Oh, yes. Most definitely there's manipulation going on. Destruction, terrorism, inevitability, but regeneration and transformation. Those are key thoughts and key energies to keep in mind. And, this is from Ask Astrology. Pluto's return, upheaval in the United States. So what it is, again, is, basically Pluto is going to be in the same place it was when the announcement of the birth of the United States happened. So a Pluto return occurs when transiting Pluto returns to the same zodiac sign and degree as it holds within a natal chart. So we're looking at the natal chart of the birth of the United States. With an orbital period of 248 years, Pluto returns occur every 2.5 centuries. This is like a long period. A long period. The United States natal chart, Pluto occupies 27 degrees 32 Capricorn. We will experience our exact degree-based return 3 times. When? In 2022. 2022, as much as we've seen transformation in 2021, now 2021 blew away 2020, kind of.
Yeah, it did.
2020 blew away 2019.
Yeah.
Well, 2022 is going to blow away 2021 in terms of significant events.
It'll be all 3 years combined and then some.
Yeah, all 3 years
And
combined.
magnified.
And then some.
Yes.
Hang on tight, guys. We're on a roller coaster ride, and just when you thought you went down the biggest hill, you see the biggest hill is still straight ahead.
That part at the roller coaster, what he's talking about, I don't know if you guys have, I'm sure most of you have ridden on a roller coaster,
and
but just
she's the type that would love that.
Try to recapture that, recapture that energetic feeling, and realize that that's probably what it's going to be like, very much like that. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we're going to experience our exact degree-based return 3 times in 2022. February 20th is the first time. February 20th. Now, again, these are when the energies are going to be at their most intense, and then there can be a residual effect. There can be a build-up effect, too. But February 20th, July 11th, so 1 week after the 4th of July, and December 28th, 3 days after Christmas. Now, obviously, we're already deeply steeped in the Pluto return when we're talking something that takes 248 years, and we're at the door. It's they say November 8th. So our first big return is just a little over 3 months away, where we're actually going to be going to the same degree. Ooh, hang on tight, man. Hang on tight. This is all about incredible change. And when we come out the other side, the big question is, what's it going to look like? Because, nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. And after a Pluto return, there's a transformation that takes place. So it's not going to be the same. And we know right now we're watching what many would recognize, as we've been saying, going back to 2017 when I started the channel, this Trojan horse that's underway. So it could be that we will see in earnest and in the open, the full impact of what has been going on with this Trojan horse infiltration at the deepest levels of the United States. Now, we could go back to way back to different things like banking acts, for instance, and recognize that there's been a slow death underway. and like, effectively the original intention of the United States when the US became USA INC period, that was a death, and that was a long time ago, and yet we still go on, and many people are not aware of even, those facts. And we've had so many executive orders, we've had so many different laws put into effect, and acts like the Patriot Act, that the founding fathers, most of them, would be turning over in their graves to see what's become of what they started.
Right. Well, what I want people to keep in mind moving into these times is, I know it sounds like there's a lot of control out there. Like a lot of things are happening to us, legal wise, with all the laws that are out there controlling how we maneuver our lives, but it's very much in our control. It is in our favor. They don't want me to talk about that. It's within all of us to maneuver how we want these changes to take place. So it's very important we continue to learn to go within and guide this thing where we want it. This is our time to shine. This is our time to have everything changed. This is beautiful.
Yeah, so here you got an actual U.S. natal chart. As we see there, that's what the chart looks like. And this was drawn up by English astrologer Ebenezer Sibley, no relation to Ebenezer Scrooge. Interesting, and we can see that the nation's going through trauma like it's never gone through before. I think you could even argue that it's going through more trauma now than it did in World War I or World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Because those wars happened over there, and there's this internal war that's going on right now inside the country that will, basically end up manifesting itself visibly. And we can see that what's going on right now. So, transformation. What can we expect? And this is again from Ask Astrology. American politics got a shot in the arm with the administration that swept into power in 2017 at the national level, largely in response to the administration that took over in 2009, right after Pluto went into Capricorn. Since then, all levels of government have been experiencing a dramatic transformation that will not be fully understood until the transit's done. So we really won't see the other side of things till we're on the other side of 2024. Mm-hmm. So, just so you get a clearer picture of this, 2022, 2024 is the peak years. And this is what we've been saying too, and kind of what we've been getting from the guides, not just the United States, but globally as well. We're in the thick of it. We are absolutely in the thick of it. The most trying of times. Next year will more than likely be much more challenging than this year. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not what you guys want to hear. And we recognize that there's a lot of sources, out there giving messages that maybe they are messages that they feel you should hear, because they don't want to shoot straight, maybe, because they don't want to bring people down.
Right.
Now, ultimately, yeah, we're going to shake the dark controllers. Their time is limited. But this period between now, especially, in just a few months, it's going to be the most trying times between 2022, 2025, in that range. And once we get on the other side of that, then the momentum hopefully will have shifted, and we'll start having the ball rolling downhill, right, instead of pushing this, huge, massive, energetic avalanche uphill.
Mm-hmm. And just really keep in mind that we are in control of this. Everybody creates their own surroundings. There's no debating that. We can create who comes into our lives, what we allow in our lives, and sometimes they might not exactly feel like choices, but we all have choices in what we're willing to accept and not willing to accept. They might come along with certain consequences. Maybe some consequences are good, some consequences are bad, but we all create our own surroundings.
We do. So we can effectively Look forward to the government completely changing. Business, economy, education, all these different things are going to be radically, radically different. And it's interesting. Jump over to this one. If you look at a historical perspective, like say with the Roman Empire, you can see when Pluto first returned through the Roman Empire, it was a period of dynastic change. You know, one dynasty kind of ends, another one begins. And of course, in the middle stage of all that, you have a lot of chaos and a lot of infighting. You know, we know the horrible behavior that was exemplified by some of these high-level families in the Roman Empire, you know, basically killing each other, poisoning each other, assassinating each other, all about power. This whole system again, we could trace back to Sumeria. We could trace back to its Anunnaki Gigi roots, and also, you know, again, it's the only reason why they've been able to penetrate so much is because of our fall, so to speak, into the Kali Yuga, into, you know, a place of basically lower density beings. And, you know, we're going to be leaving that area, heading on up. Now, as we step into fourth density, out of third density, which is the transition that we're, you know, heading into right now, we have to transit through the lower astral plane, the lower fourth density, which is the abode of, you know, all the nasty places that you hear about when we're talking about the quote unquote hellish realms. And, you know, Buddhist monks have mapped um, to such a high degree the fourth density, and they talk about it. So, you know, when we talk about many heavens and hells, we're really talking about different layers of the astral of the fourth density, which is going to be just a transition period. Mm-hmm. And the Australian Aborigines say we're returning to dream time. Well, you know, when we go to sleep, we're basically beings that are operating in the fourth density. And it depends on where our frequency is where we find ourselves at in that fourth density. You know, if you're vibrating basically so that you're heading to the middle of the fourth density, not a bad place. You know, it's all relative. If you're vibrating at a very high level, you're going to be pulled up into the higher fourth density realms, which are closer to fifth density, which is much more of a heavenly, pleasant realm. Beautiful, you know. Now, if we're vibrating at a lower frequency, which the controllers want us to be vibrating at, then we're basically heading to the realms of nightmares, so to speak.
You know, when someone asked me, they're like, well, what does it mean to, you know, raise your vibrations? What does that mean? I don't understand what it looks like. And I think a lot of people get stuck on that. What does that look like? For me personally, it's about choosing to not take a lot of things onto myself. Like, a lot of people might do a lot of things and do a lot of nasty things. You don't want to take that onto yourself. And what I mean by that is when, like, you watch TV and you see these politicians and you just know that they're lying, right? You don't want to get sucked into that. You want to learn to allow people to have their character defects and not let it affect you. Understand, we all have character defects. And to look at that and take it personally or make judgment on it, you're starting to lower your vibration. You're starting to feel bad. You're starting to feel angry. So a lot of things, you know, if they can be left alone, understanding what you can control and what you can't control, that's a way to make sure you keep your vibrations up. So there's many different ways. It's about navigating your soul and understanding what gets to you, what doesn't get to you. And if you can control it, great, make it better. If not, let it go. Just let it go. That's what I think.
Exactly. You know, it's not getting pulled in. So, like, say when you see a comment that makes you reply in a way where you're kind of angered, and then there's another comment that comes back, and then you reply even more angered and irritated. That's a road right down the dark side. Now, that's what they do. That's what some of these bots are out there for. That's what some of the people that are opening themselves up to, basically, you could view it as a demonic or draconian takeover, whichever word you prefer. It just opens you up to entities being able to manipulate you. So you have to avoid that. You have to develop more of a Buddhist detachment where, for instance, if I see really negative comments, I'll either delete them, remove them, or ignore them.
Yeah.
But I don't want other people to be affected by the negative comments. So I tend to get rid of them because what they're trying to do is cause chaos. And, just like, a cancer has to be at some point in time. Well, I don't really think we have to cut cancers out. The medical system
it can
gets
be
us
healed.
you can get the body to eliminate them on their own, break it down and dissolve it and just excrete it. But the saying that if you don't cut it out, it's going to take you over. It's the same thing with energies. So you don't want to feed them. You most definitely don't want to feed them. You just turn, walk away, you ignore them. And in many cases, you have to cut people out of your lives.
Yeah, you do.
Because you got to look at it like you have to guard your own energies. We had one family member that is in a situation and it's been in a situation for a long time that's not healthy, and they're frustrated, but they're not doing anything because they feel like they're trapped.
Yeah.
They feel like they can't do anything because they're on a limited budget, what have you. And I just let them know that the way I viewed it was I would even go live out of my car if I had to, if I was in a place that was so toxic that it was drawing my frequency down to the point where it was going to affect my afterlife, because what we do and what we're holding here as far as frequency does affect our afterlife. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's enormous. It's all about what we do on this plane that affects what happens to us when we're on the other side. So you have to guard that, and you don't want to feed it with negative energies. And a couple of times in my life, basically, I just basically packed whatever I could in my tiny little Toyota at that time and left, and that was it. And I had basically $300 one time to my name and a lot of debt. So it really was like negative 30,000 when you get down to it. But took a chance, and as I got onto my path, everything straightened itself out pretty quickly. But I couldn't be around certain energies anymore. They were going to destroy my spirit. So I would have much rather been risking, being quote unquote homeless, just living out of your car, than be in a situation where the energies would pull my spirit down to where, this life would not have amounted to what I had intended it to. Because again, we are eternal beings. This is a temporary situation, and it is a risky roll of the dice to come into 3D. Anybody that is in 3D, you're a brave soul.
Yes, you are.
You are a brave soul. You know, to even jump into this density, because it's not for the faint of heart.
No. No, not at all. It's not easy, you guys. It's not easy. You have to be, a master at creating things, a master at creating your own reality to even be here. It took a lot of qualifications to get here. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. And then living your truth. Oh boy, that's another tough one. A lot of people just simply conform because of certain rules and laws. So living your truth, that's not easy either. But it's all for soul growth. And when you're ready to do it, you'll know. So no judging yourself. When you're ready to do things, you'll know.
So how about Pluto return to the British Empire? Well, one of the times it came through, there was a great famine of 1311 to 1315. You also saw the Scots winning a major battle, which gave them separation from England, although that was only temporary. And then also basically a change in the dynasties themselves, as well as various persecutions of various sects out there as well. Interesting stuff. It's major changes that we see. Major changes when you have a Pluto return. So when we look at the timing of some things, remember George Washington's vision? We've talked about this many times on this channel. And, it's interesting because some people will say that's been debunked, but, there actually is a copy of this in the Library of Congress, the vision, which does go back quite a ways. And so, did it happen? Didn't it happen? I guess we'd have to channel George Washington to find out.
Oh, we could do that.
We probably
yeah,
could.
We could.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It would be interesting to find out if that really did happen, as is said. But it talks about three big perils. One, of course, the winning of its independence, and then the atrocity of the Civil War, which was horrible and really did put the whole country into debt, which led to the banking situation that we have, currently, where the bankers really run the country instead of anybody else. And then a third vision of an invasion of the United States. And, when you look to the logical timing of this, I would think that you would say the likeliness of this vision happening, if it is going to happen in this time frame, in this timeline, would be during a Pluto return. Right around the time of the Pluto return. So, isn't it curious to see the world situation? Isn't it curious to think about what's in all those containers? What's the deal with the containers? By the way, Texas governor is putting empty containers as a barrier along the border in Texas with Mexico. Isn't that interesting too? Because there's a backlog now of so many containers that they don't know what to do with once they get offloaded. Now, and I'm not sure if we shared this or not, but many of those containers that are getting offloaded, part of this backlog, what we've gotten from the guides, and why this video will be probably buried.
We're on Rumble.
is Rumble and Brighteon, but again, I'm seeing strange numbers out of Brighteon, and also hearing from a lot of other creators on Brighteon now too, that they're noticing their numbers are really odd as well. What's happening is, as these things are being offloaded, the goods are being offloaded, there is a second whole supply chain in place. There is a second whole system in place that is under the control of the PCC. Put it up to a mirror. Yep. So yes, the Trojan horse, the offloading of, you remember that story, right? There was Greek soldiers inside the Trojan horse. They came out, they opened the gates. Gates have been open, and not only opened, as we know, 400,000 migrants crossed the border in October is what they're saying. Millions in just the last year, to which the federal government wants to give them 6-digit checks for anybody that's been separated.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Doesn't it? Isn't it crazy?
I don't know. I'm wondering, have I been separated from anybody?
Think about it, guys. Think about it. So there is a whole new supply chain being put into place right now. And, when we get to the point where people are, rationing is there for those, again, if you're not fully self-sufficient, you don't have enough food stocks to get by long term, and you don't have a way of replenishing it, then you're going to have to wait for your allotment and go. You're going to have to go wait in line or what have you, and you're going to have to take what they give you if you've met the prerequisite conditions. If you haven't met those conditions, you're going to be on your own, period. And there are certain places that are being established, and again, these rumors that are rumors, I've yet to find some that have been totally debunked. I mean, it seems like almost all the time when we hear about these things, and then they do eventually come to pass. They do come to pass.
Yeah.
So think about this. There's a lot of stock, a lot of goods going not where they were originally intended to go according to the manifests. They're going to different areas. They're going to different encampments that are being set up. that people will have to go to get their supplies.
Yeah.
So this is part of what we have gotten, from the guides. So yeah, Washington's vision is of an invasion, and he's not the only one. The Hopis say the U.S. is going to be destroyed by basically what sounds like NUKESs. Now, that's something that the Galactics had promised wouldn't happen, but it doesn't mean that there still can't be, again, as we know, they've made them smaller and smaller and smaller. Where's that threshold?
Right.
And they said they have to judge on an individual case by case basis.
Yes.
But it's interesting because, again, there's visions of an attack coming from the coasts, and really, it sounds like these hypersonic missiles that we keep hearing about, that Russia and China have. Henry Groover had a vision back in '86. That was the same year that I got my first, visions as well. And he saw submarines attack America, and that's what it's always felt like to me too. And also the fact that there'd be so many of these sleepy cellular units in the country that would be activated fully, paving the way for all the other troops to come on in. Mm-hmm. And who knows? We don't know what's in all those containers, but we do also know that there's a massive fishing fleet that has been seen off the coast of South America, for instance, with like thousands of fishing boats. Yeah. What if each one of those thousands of fishing boats had 10 to 20 troops in each one of them? They could offload quickly and join up with what's already here. So you see, many people have had these. They all see the same thing. This one person, Gail Smith, talks about earthquakes. Shortly after the second earthquake, the United States will be attacked by invading forces. Russia will invade the East Coast, China the West Coast. Invasion will include missile attacks. She was shown that it would occur when people are eating and drinking what she believes to be Thanksgiving, but maybe Christmas. And she saw those NUKE type attacks on both coasts, Las Vegas, even perhaps Utah. Now, again, timelines could change, and some prophecies, such as what we got here with the Albert Pike one and 3 world wars, the guide said this is not the first time they've done this. Have basically the outline for 3 WWs be given over 100 years before it's actually set in place fully. It'll be 150 almost by the time, or it would be 150 or 151, 152, something like that, by the time the third conflagration would start. They've done this before in other complete civilizations.
Yeah, because they know how to live for many, many moons, far more moons than we know how to live for, because we're limited, and they do that very deliberately. So yeah, many versions of this going on and on and on. This is the information that we've gotten, and it makes sense to me. I mean, it just seems like, of course, why wouldn't they just keep revising it? It works. It works to, send out an old situation where people are becoming more and more difficult to control and bring in something new.
Yeah, so let's follow the same script as last time, guys, but this time we're going to tweak it here, and there.
Right.
And that's exactly, what they've been doing. So I hope you guys found this interesting, because again, how do we change this to a more positive light? It's in realizing that there is a complete script that's laid out for us to go down, and the path to our freedom lies in getting out of the system, getting out of the control grid, and getting as many people out of the system and not in compliance with the system, not saying, hey, I'm going to go join up. I'm going to go fight your endless wars abroad. Recognize that, the wars are not about personal liberties and freedom. They're all about control and profit, and controlling resources, creating loosh, creating situations in which people experience horrible endings to a life, which can then get you to go into that reincarnation cycle in the same place again for yet another whole life in a planet and a sphere of existence that's under the same controllers. Instead of basically right now, we all have our get out of jail free cards. If we were left to our own choices, our own ways, and we were not being pushed to do certain things, the light from the sun itself would be changing our DNA, and we would be ascending into that 5D. This would be our last go round in this 3D, 4D loop. They know it. This is why they're trying. Number one thing for them is to keep the souls in the 3D, 4D loop. That's their number one objective. So it's not even about so much, everything else that you're thinking about. It's about keeping the souls from ascending. That's the number one thing.
Right, because they do understand. They understand the bigger picture, whereas we've been taught a much smaller picture since we were little. So that's an advantage they have over us. But I wanted to give a couple shout outs real quick.
Sure.
I just wanted to say so much of a thank you to Miss Jan. She's always our angel taking care of us in one way, shape, or form. She seems to know kind of what we need when we need it. Thank you, Jan. And then I want to say hi to Aaron and Craig, because Aaron reached out this morning and haven't heard from them in a while. And they're really, really awesome people. And they have a YouTube channel too, Radiant Creators. So very, very good people. And again, to our Patreon people, you guys, I mean, times are tough, and we've been having a harder and harder time getting the videos up. The last 3 videos in a row have been really precarious. So we really appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, they're putting different filters on them too, because they don't want them to come across, because we're giving it to you guys straight. And they know that, but they know who we are, we know who they are. So at least we're on even playground with that. And again, with Jan too, I want to ask for prayers for healing for Bobby, her husband, as well.
And Jen too. She's having her own thing going on. They're both kind of simultaneously having issues, so we want to send our healing energies to both.
And we send healing energy to Leah and Neil as well. Those are also beautiful family members that are going through trying times physically over in North Carolina. And we do want to thank you guys for the prayers of healing for Cheryl.
Yes.
She did have emergency surgery, made it through. They didn't get all the cancer out, though. So we'll set the intentions out that what's left is going to shrink and dissolve and go away, and she'll be restored to full health.
And then our Miss Sean Mary, she's also needing some energy too. She's going through a hard time, but we really appreciate you guys. It's all your energy that goes forth in changing these timelines. It does help. It does make a difference, and don't let anybody tell you that it doesn't.
Yeah, and so while we're doing that, just to go a little bit longer,
okay.
Much love to our dear sisters, Carmen and Kristen, because they're both beautiful, shining lights. And when I think of shining examples of people that have just nothing but positive intentions for everything and everybody on the planet, these two ladies are truly beautiful souls.
Yeah, they've really helped us in huge ways. We appreciate all of it, and even down to the thumbs up, you guys. I mean, there's a whole lot of gratitude coming out from here, so that we can carry on and keep doing this. And we are on Rumble, just in case, because it's been precarious lately. So if you don't see us, you know where to go.
Yes. As always, guys, God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.